All right, strap yourselves in because this deep dive is going to take us to some pretty dark places.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
We're heading straight into the heart of Mexico,
Lots to unpack there.
uncovering some seriously unsettling truths about the military, organized crime, and even
Oh yeah, can't forget that.
a chilling paranormal encounter.
Sounds right up our alley.
We've got some absolutely fascinating source material to work with here,
Definitely. Looking forward to this.
including a recent interview with a former Mexican Special Forces soldier.
Okay. Someone who's seen some things firsthand.
This guy, Gafe 423, he's spilling the beans on some experiences
Oh, I bet.
that would make your hair stand on end.
Can't wait to hear about those.
We're also going to be taking a close look at a declassified CIA document detailing a potential UFO encounter in Siberia.
Siberia, that's a new one.
Yep, you heard that right, Siberia.
All right, I'm intrigued.
And to help us make sense of all of this,
Always a good idea.
we have our expert who's, well, let's just say,
I try my best.
a master at connecting the dots and shedding light on even the most shadowy corners of these stories.
Someone's got to do it.
So let's kick things off with Gafe 423. His interview on the podcast Paranormal YouTube channel is our main source today,
Makes sense.
and his background is key here. This guy was part of the GAFE, that's Grupo Aeromóvil de Fuerzas Especiales, for nearly 8.5 years.
GAFE, huh? The elite of the elite.
To put it simply, these guys are the best of the best in the Mexican military.
Not just the best, though. The GAFE have a particularly complex and troubling link to the Zetas cartel, one that Gafe 423 sheds some light on.
Yeah, the Zetas, brutal reputation.
To say the least. He reveals that the original core of the Zetas was actually made up of GAFE deserters.
Wow. Imagine training alongside someone who later becomes a high-ranking member of a brutal cartel.
Yeah, it makes you wonder about the whole system, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It really blurs the lines between the military and organized crime in Mexico.
Definitely. You have to wonder, does this infiltration speak to the cartel's power? Or a deeper issue of corruption within the military itself?
It's a chicken or the egg situation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it gets even more personal because
Oh.
Gafe 423 shares that he was actually approached by the cartel just 2 days after leaving the military.
No kidding.
They straight up offered him a job.
Wow. Can you imagine the pressure of that situation, especially with what he'd already seen during his service?
That's what I'm saying. It's got to weigh on you.
Absolutely. Most people can't even fathom that kind of pressure. You're trained to be the best specialized skills, and then faced with the decision of joining a lucrative but incredibly dangerous organization.
Right. And the allure of easy money.
Oh, yeah. Especially with limited economic opportunities in Mexico. The temptation must be huge.
But here's the thing. Gafe 423 refused.
He did.
He did. And based on what he describes witnessing during his service, it's not surprising. He talks about seeing truly horrific scenes, civilians, even children murdered by cartel members.
Those images would stay with anyone.
No doubt. While some might succumb to the temptation, Gafe 423's refusal suggests that many soldiers do stay dedicated to their oath.
To protect the innocent? Makes sense.
They see the brutality firsthand, so their
Uh-huh.
decision to resist, it's even more courageous, I think.
Definitely.
And it's not just the external threat of the cartels either.
Right.
Gafe 423 describes a pretty toxic internal culture within the military itself. Hazing rituals, a survival of the fittest mentality ingrained in everything they do.
That's rough.
He even says, if I didn't do it, why should you? Chilling statement.
That phrase speaks volumes about systemic issues. It's like these hazing rituals. Maybe they're supposed to build camaraderie, but
Right.
they can easily create a cycle of trauma and silence, ripe for abuse, especially in a hierarchical structure like the military. Makes you wonder how much that contributes to the corruption we were just talking about.
Yeah. And speaking of silence, Gafe 423 mentions facing censorship and potential threats after starting his YouTube channel. He's cautious about what he reveals, almost like he's constantly looking over his shoulder.
That's concerning. Freedom of speech in Mexico. If even a former soldier feels the need to censor himself, what does that say? What are they so afraid of?
It is unsettling. But Gafe 423 doesn't shy away from tackling controversial topics, though. He even brings up the Lagos de Moreno incident.
That horrific case.
Yeah, the video that surfaced showing those young men being forced to kill each other.
That case shook everyone. It's a reminder of just how brutal the cartels can be and the psychological impact of that video.
Horrible.
Forcing individuals to participate in their own execution. A whole other level of depravity. It's a tactic designed to instill terror and ensure absolute obedience.
Like psychological warfare.
Exactly.
But here's where things get interesting. Gafe 423 isn't totally convinced that this was solely the cartel's doing.
Oh.
He suggests there might be a political motive behind it.
Interesting. Someone using the cartels to push their agenda?
Exactly. Makes you think, what if the violence we see is just the tip of the iceberg?
Could be. What if it's all part of a bigger, more insidious game?
It's disturbing, but it's a possibility we need to consider.
Definitely. GOT 423's perspective forces us to look beyond the immediate narrative. Question motives. Who benefits from the chaos? Is there a hidden agenda?
And that's what makes his perspective so valuable, right?
Absolutely. He's not just a former soldier.
He's someone who's seen the dark underbelly,
And is willing to shed light on it. He brings a unique perspective to the table.
challenging the official narrative, forcing us to confront the complexity of the situation. Okay, so we've talked about Gafe 423's experiences in the military, his take on the Lagos de Moreno incident. But his story takes an even stranger turn. Remember that declassified CIA document I mentioned?
The UFO one?
The one about the potential UFO encounter in Siberia. That's where we're headed next.
All right, buckle up. This is where it gets weird.
Oh yeah, this is where things go off the rails.
I love it. Let's go. It's like these seemingly unconnected events. A soldier's haunting experience in a Mexican prison, a brutal cartel incident with possible political undertones, and a Cold War-era UFO encounter. Could they be glimpses into a hidden world, operating just beyond our normal perception? A world where the lines between reality and the paranormal, the human and the extraterrestrial, become blurred.
It's a mind-bending thought, isn't it? That there might be forces at play we can't even begin to comprehend. And remember, Gafe 423's story is just one piece of this larger puzzle.
Exactly. His experiences, while extraordinary, are not unique. There's a growing body of evidence. Declassified government documents to firsthand accounts from credible witnesses, all suggesting that our understanding of the universe and our place in it might be far from complete.
And that some of these encounters, like the one described in that Siberian document, might be far more complex and perhaps even dangerous than we initially realize.
Absolutely. The Siberian incident, if true, presents a chilling possibility. That there are extraterrestrial civilizations with technology so advanced that it appears almost magical to us.
Imagine the implications for our understanding of physics, warfare, even the future of humanity. It's like something out of science fiction. But what if it's not fiction at all?
It forces us to confront our own limitations, to acknowledge that there might be forces at play beyond our current comprehension. What if our scientific understanding is just scratching the surface of what's really out there?
It's a humbling thought, and it makes you wonder. If governments are aware of these advanced technologies, are they trying to understand them, to replicate them, or are they simply trying to control the narrative and keep the public from panicking?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The history of government secrecy surrounding UFOs and other unexplained phenomena certainly suggests a desire to control information and shape public perception. But why? What are they so afraid of?
Is it a fear of the unknown? Or maybe they're worried about mass panic? Could it be something more strategic, like trying to maintain a technological edge over other nations?
It's possible. Imagine the geopolitical ramifications. If one country managed to harness this kind of technology, it would completely shift the balance of power.
It's a rabbit hole we could go down forever, isn't it? But let's bring it back to Gay 423's experiences for a moment. What stood out to you the most about his story?
His willingness to speak out despite the risks. It's incredibly courageous. He's clearly grappling with what he's seen and experienced, trying to make sense of it all. And in doing so, he's inviting us to do the same. It's like he's saying, hey, this is what I've encountered. Now you grapple with it.
It's like he's not just sharing his story. He's challenging us to question the world around us, to look beyond the surface and consider the possibility that there's more to reality than we've been led to believe.
And that's a powerful message. It's a call to awaken our curiosity, to embrace the unknown, and to engage in critical thinking. Especially in a world where information is increasingly controlled and manipulated, we're constantly bombarded with news, opinions, and agendas. How do we discern what's real and what's not?
So what does this all mean? What can we as listeners take away from Gafe 423's story? From this deep dive into the world of Mexican special forces, organized crime, and even UFOs, what's the takeaway here?
I think the key takeaway is this. Don't be afraid to question. Don't accept things at face value. Do your own research. Consider multiple perspectives, and allow yourself to be open to the possibility that the world is far more complex and mysterious than we might imagine.
It's a call to embrace curiosity, challenge assumptions, and to recognize that the pursuit of truth is an ongoing journey. We may never have all the answers, but that doesn't mean we should stop asking questions.
Exactly. And Gafe 423's story is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest corners of our world, there are individuals who are willing to speak truth to power. They shine a light on the hidden and the unsettling, and encourage us to seek a deeper understanding of the world around us.
Now let's get back to that Siberian UFO incident.
Yeah.
We've talked about how strange it is, but we haven't really delved into whether or not this document could be credible. What do you think? Is there any way to verify what happened?
That's the tricky part. With incidents like this, we're often dealing with limited information and conflicting accounts. The fact that this document is now declassified is a big step, but it doesn't automatically mean it's completely accurate. It could be a genuine account, a fabrication, or something in between.
So how do we even begin to evaluate something like this? Where do we start?
It requires a healthy dose of skepticism combined with an open mind. We need to look at the source of the information, in this case the CIA, and consider their motives. Why release this document now? What agenda might they be serving?
I guess it's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism of it all, but we have to remember to be critical thinkers.
Exactly. We need to look for corroborating evidence, eyewitness accounts, other documents that might support or contradict the claims being made. It's like piecing together a puzzle with missing pieces. We may never have the full picture, but we can still try to make sense of the fragments we have.
Okay, let's say for a moment that the document is accurate.
Mm-hmm.
What are the scientific implications of an event like this? I mean, we're talking about soldiers turning into limestone. That's not exactly something you learn about in physics class.
It would completely upend our understanding of physics and biology. We'd have to reevaluate everything we thought we knew about matter, energy, the nature of reality itself. It would be a paradigm shift of epic proportions.
What about the potential threat? If a civilization possesses technology that can transform humans into stone, are we even capable of defending ourselves?
That's a sobering thought. It raises questions about our vulnerability in the face of advanced extraterrestrial civilizations. Do we have the means to detect and understand such threats? Are we prepared for a scenario where our current understanding of warfare is completely irrelevant?
These are some heavy questions. It's almost easier to dismiss the whole thing as a hoax. But then again, what if it's not? What if we're willfully blinding ourselves to a reality we're not ready to face?
And that brings us back to the importance of staying curious and questioning everything. We can't afford to be complacent, especially when dealing with something as potentially paradigm-shifting as extraterrestrial contact.
You know, it's interesting how Gafe 423's experiences, while seemingly unrelated to the Siberian incident, also challenge our perceptions of reality. His paranormal encounter in that prison, whether you believe in ghosts or not, it points to the possibility that there's more to the world than what we can see and touch.
Right. It's like different pieces of the same puzzle. We have these stories, these accounts of events that defy explanation. And whether they involve ghosts, UFOs, or something else entirely, they force us to confront the limits of our knowledge.
They make us question our assumptions, our beliefs, even our sanity at times.
And that's where the real learning begins. When we're willing to step outside of our comfort zones, to entertain ideas that might seem impossible, that's when we open ourselves up to a whole new world of possibilities.
It's like we're peeling back these layers of reality, right?
No.
We started with a former soldier's account of, corruption and brutality, then delved into a potential UFO cover-up, and now here we are exploring the very nature of what we consider real.
And the thing is, each of these layers, they all seem to connect to the other somehow. Gafe 423's experiences, the Lagos de Moreno incident, the Siberian UFO document, they all point to forces, to agendas operating beyond our usual understanding.
It is. It's a lot to absorb, for sure. But I think that's what makes his deep dive so compelling, right? We're not just passively consuming information. We're actively engaging with it, questioning it, trying to make sense of it all. It's challenging, but it's also incredibly stimulating.
It's like we're training our minds to be more flexible, more adaptable to new information, new possibilities. And in a world that's so saturated with information, it's a crucial skill to cultivate.
It really is. We need to be able to sift through the noise, identify the patterns, connect the dots ourselves. We can't just rely on others to tell us what's real and what's not.
Precisely. And Gafe 423, I think, really embodies that spirit of critical thinking. He isn't afraid to challenge the official narrative, question authority, share his own experiences even when they're controversial or difficult to believe.
He's definitely a catalyst for deeper thinking. And his willingness to speak out, even when it might put him at risk, inspiring.
It is. It reminds us that we all have a role to play in uncovering the truth. We might not all have those firsthand experiences with UFOs or the paranormal, but we can all contribute by asking questions, sharing information, and encouraging open dialogue.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought, a provocative one, perhaps.
Yeah.
What if these seemingly disparate events, Gafe 423's experiences, the Lagos de Moreno incident, that Siberian UFO encounter, what if they're not as disconnected as they appear? What if they're all threads in a much larger tapestry, a hidden reality that we're only beginning to glimpse?
It's a question worth considering, isn't it? Could these be signs of a hidden world, operating just beyond our perception? A world where the lines between human and extraterrestrial, the natural and supernatural, become blurred.
And if so, what does that mean for us? Are we ready to face the implications of such a reality?
That's a question each of us has to answer for ourselves. But I believe that the pursuit of truth, however unsettling it may be, is ultimately a journey worth taking. It's a journey that requires courage, curiosity, and an unwavering commitment to expanding our understanding of the world around us.
Beautifully said. We'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. What resonated with you? What questions are you still grappling with? Share your insights, your own experiences, even your wildest theories, because the pursuit of truth, it's a collective endeavor, and we can all contribute to this ongoing exploration of the unknown.
Remember, the world is full of mysteries, and sometimes the most unsettling truths. They're hidden in plain sight. It's up to us to have the courage to look for them.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep questioning, keep seeking, and never be afraid to look beyond the surface.